Thank you, President Johnson and trustees. I'm pleased to be joined this evening by Ms. Dawn Linden, Assistant Superintendent, and Ms. Robin Coker, who is the principal of both of our elementary virtual programs. Trustees, you've been hearing about these throughout the spring as we've been planning and preparing for school year 21-22. The two virtual programs are really very simple. One is the A2 Virtual, that is a program that we've had generally for many years. And last year it was expanded to elementary. And as Trustee Gaynor noted, that is a big part of the additional staff that we used was really opening a new elementary and middle school virtual A2 virtual programming. That side of the virtual village is where the student works more independently. Parents who have not wanted their students to, they've wanted to have a less screen intense virtual experience have chosen that program. The other side of our virtual village is that A2 Live. This is a new offering, and we are offering it as a result of the request of parents who would like to keep their students on a virtual learning, but they would like them to have the live engagement in a learning community in a virtual classroom. So we are scaling up this program based on our parent and student enrollment and registration that is occurring right now. So our goal this evening, I believe it was Trustee Caraharo who noted one or two meetings ago how important it is for us to be sharing this information around the virtual village now while our enrollment is still open in the district. So we are absolutely excited to share a brief update. We did conduct a community engagement session last Thursday evening and had folks viewing that live, and then also it is still available on demand for members of our community. Ms. Linden, I'll turn it over to you, and I see that Ms. Coker has also joined us as well. Share with us about the virtual village this evening, please.
Well, first of all, just thank you so much for this opportunity, President Johnson, trustees, and Superintendent Swift. You will see the enthusiasm on my face, and I know with Ms. Coker here, we have a lot of excitement in being able to share this program with our community, both of these options. And I want to just commend Ms. Coker for her work over this past year, creating this program with Ms. Liz Lucier and the entire A2 virtual team, and now this next iteration and second chapter on A2 Virtual Village. So I am just going to promptly turn this right over to Ms. Coker, and I know Mr. Cluley is going to run our slides for us. So here we go.
Thank you, Mrs. Linden. Thank you, President Johnson, trustees, and Superintendent Swift. I really appreciate this opportunity to share this work with you this evening, this great work that our team is doing, and also the opportunity to be involved with these programs and our commitment to meeting the needs of our families that are diverse, our families' diverse needs. So for a variety of reasons, we have families that are still in need of online programming for elementary students, whether it's because they have a concern about feeling safe and comfortable with their child returning. We have families that found that this past year worked for them and that this was a great fit. And so what we are anxious to do is to build a virtual village from what we learned over this past year. And I will share this overview of the two programs with you. So this year, as Dr. Swift mentioned, as we plan forward, we have two options: the A2 Virtual Elementary that we launched last fall, which our team affectionately calls A2VE, and then the A2 Live Online program. And as the name of A2 Live Online implies, that is similar to the experience that our students had when we were on virtual status this past year, where they are live in an online Zoom session with their teacher being led and supported by an Ann Arbor Public School teacher according to a specific schedule where the teacher provides that whole group instructional experience that we would expect. With A2 Virtual Elementary, that is a largely asynchronous program where still led and supported by a highly qualified Ann Arbor Public School teacher, where that core content that our mathematics, literacy, science, social studies, that core content is accessed at a time that works for the child and the family. But while the approach is different, the programs share many things. One is that it doesn't require students to come in person and allows them to learn in their home environment, that we have this quality teacher. But also, we really want to emphasize that the choice of the language of our virtual village is important, because we know that we want our students, whether they're with us in person or they're part of an online learning community, it's really important they feel that they're part of our community, they're connected. We have long been committed to social emotional learning in the Ann Arbor Public Schools and continued that work over this past year remotely, and have really refined some wonderful offerings that we can give to students online that are a part of both our synchronous and our asynchronous programs. So whether they're with children, with the teacher 5 days a week, they'll have exposure through their morning meetings. And in our A2 virtual program, they have those experiences a couple of times a week. So we're going to go ahead, Andrew, if we could click to the next slide. One of the questions that folks often do ask about is, what does it look like? How are children assigned teachers? What does that mean? And in the A2 Live online program, it seems pretty intuitive, right? That they are assigned to a teacher. And so that if a third grader comes to us, they're assigned a third grade teacher who's supporting their learning, and they're part of that class. And that's the same actually with the A2 virtual elementary, so that even though they're not meeting every single day together as a class, they are part of a classroom community, and the teacher does support and develop that community over the course of the year. A really important piece of the role of our A2 virtual teachers is that they're providing high quality feedback to students, because students are accessing their materials independently. And we'll talk a little bit about the role of a family in that support on our next slide. But they're accessing that material without the teacher being in that shared virtual space with them. And so they're monitoring the child's work, they're providing feedback and communicating with the child and their family, so that we're making sure that they have the supports that they need. Just like we offer in person, both through A2 Virtual and A2 Live online, students, teachers have a responsibility to work with children to know what their needs are and to adjust instruction accordingly, and they do that. So sometimes folks ask us, what do teachers do, particularly in asynchronous program? And I want to assure members of the board that what our teachers do in that program is teach kids all day. They just are doing it in a format that looks different, often individually or in small groups. And I want to mention, and I think it's worth saying and sharing, is the role of the family. I think that we have this shared experience over this past year and a half. I know as a parent, the way that I think about supporting my child for school is different when they're at home learning with me than when I'm sending them off to school. So when I'm sending my daughter off to school, I'm making sure she gets on the bus. I'm double checking with her that she's put everything she needs in her backpack. If the weather's chilly, that she has her mittens. I'm reading the school communication from her principal and from her teacher. And I'm contacting the teacher if I have a question or concern. And when my child came home, it looked different, right? When they were doing their learning at home. And so we want to underscore that role of family looks different. It's very important. It's important whether your child is in person or online, but it's really, really important that we understand that role looks different, so that we need some support in getting children to school, but that looks different. It's helping them keep a schedule, set alarms, get into those Zoom meetings for their A2 Live online sessions, and making sure that they come back after lunch, that they have a workspace where they can easily reach those materials that they need, that in a classroom setting, the teacher is going to help them get. And then for our A2 virtual elementary, that role of family or another trusted adult is absolutely crucial. We say that children access the material independently, but we also know, given the age and the developmental level of K-5 children, they're going to need some adult support to access that and to really not only keep them on schedule, but help develop a schedule, follow through, and assist them in communicating with the teacher. So that if we have a child who has accessed the material and this is a particularly tricky lesson, we don't want them to wait till the next time that they have something scheduled with the teacher. We want to make sure that we're getting them support right away. And so that involves the support of an adult to help them communicate with the teacher and get that going. And so we'll go ahead and click to the next slide. I will share a little bit with you about the schedule of the programs. This first one is the A2 Live Online. It's a tentative schedule. You'll see that it looks familiar to you. It runs much like a typical building schedule when children are live in person, and also looks similar to the schedule that we ran last year for our program for children who were meeting through who were in a live Zoom session with their teacher. And you'll see it has all those important elements of the day. It has literacy and math and science and social studies. We've built in specials, and of course that important morning meeting and closing circle time. That's part of the community building. But you'll also notice that off to the right, I've highlighted a few things here. The one is our intervention and enrichment block. That is a time where we are stopping new instruction. And that's a time where students who need some additional support may get it during that time so that they're not missing new and critical work. Or this might be a time for children who could do enrichment, extension, working on passion projects. So that's what that time means. And then if you'll notice, I've also highlighted this idea of online, offline. Mrs. Linden really pushed our team to say, what is that moment during the schedule? How are we making sure that children have opportunities to close the lid, as she phrased it? And so we really have thought carefully about how we provide online, offline learning opportunities through an online program. And we have lots of expertise that we've developed over this past year that we can build on to do that. One is that, of course, we have scheduled breaks built into our schedule where that could happen. But also, if you see, we have the core instructional pieces in literacy or math, where the teacher is teaching, and then the teacher may work with a small group of students, and then the other students might be working in their math journal offline, or maybe using manipulatives or writing on a whiteboard, or applying the literacy skill they learned by putting Post-it notes and marking their book. So we're really attending to that to give children opportunities to be offline as well. And then this is our tentative schedule for A2 Virtual. You'll notice it's not a schedule as much as it is a list. With A2 Virtual, our asynchronous program, the families create a schedule that makes sense for them, but our recommendations are based on 5 days a week. And if you notice and were to compare this side by side with our A2 Online, you'll see that those time blocks are very similar. We want about 60 minutes for literacy, 60 minutes for math. And so we provide this guidelines so that as families build a schedule that makes sense and think about what this means for them, that they have a sense of what that will mean. The one thing that we don't have on here is that our A2 virtual students will also have opportunities to do live specials. We found that was the most engaging and appropriate way for them to participate in those specials. And so that will be an opportunity that would be live every day. So we have opportunities, while this is largely an asynchronous program, every day of the week, virtual students have an opportunity to connect with their peers. They have an opportunity to connect with the teacher through specials, through morning meetings. We offer clubs that we started this year at virtual, largely connected to our specials. We intend to expand those and also offer those to our A2 Live students. Another opportunity for students to have voice and choice and spend part of their day in something self-selected and interest-based. And so this back to the schedule is just a guideline for our families. But the when doesn't matter so much, so that for families, if you have an early bird who you want to start your days at 7 a.m., that's okay. If you have a child who is on a different schedule, if you have a standing appointment every Tuesday and you want to do a little more other days of the week, or do part of a Saturday. All of that works with the A2 virtual. That is the advantage of this program, is that it is highly flexible. And then Andrew, if we could go to the next slide. So this last slide has a really important piece, and then I want to add a little bit, which is our web address, which is www.a2schools.org/A2village. And we have really put time and effort into putting meaningful content that we think will help our community really be able to dig in and explore the programs, including a side-by-side, so that in some of what I presented this evening, if you're thinking, yep, I definitely want to go online with my K-5 student, but I'm not sure which program makes the most sense, we have that lined up for you to see them side by side. And then also a branch that really digs deeply both into the A2 virtual and the A2 online program. And I really want to give a shout out to Mrs. Lusher, who Mrs. Linden mentioned, and our team, but Mrs. Lusher has done a really beautiful job of making the site user-friendly and very nice. She's just done a lovely job. The other thing that I wanted to mention that wasn't in there that Dr. Swift had specifically asked me about the last time that we connected was asking, as with other elementary schools, do we have community events beyond the school day and opportunities for our parents to be involved in? So I just wanted to briefly speak to that and just say, yes, we do. We began our foray this year, launching A2 virtual in the fall, and those things naturally evolved over time. We had a heritage festival this year. In our first year, we had a t-shirt contest where students were encouraged to submit entries, and our little robot that you saw you'll see on our website and was included in the presentation, that was actually created by one of our students. And we did One Book Connect, which was a school-wide, community-wide read where we were all reading the same book. So we have run things that are similar to what children would experience. We want our children and our families to feel connected and part of that virtual village. And so we'll continue to expand and build on those opportunities over the next year.
Thank you so much, Ms. Coker, Ms. Lusher, the entire team, design team, Erica Hatt, Tony Stam, Shallon Furton, and many of members of the TLC team who have coordinated and collaborated on this with you. I need to point out that this program is exceptional. It is robust. It is well thought out and well planned. And as Ms. Coker mentioned, it is really capitalizing on everything we learned this past year in synchronous live instruction and perfecting that to move it forward. As Ms. Hayward would say, leveling it up. And so I think if folks were looking around for online options for students, this would be the first place that I would look as a parent. It is the best thing I've seen. And our Schools of Choice window is open. It closes June 30th for folks who may still be on the fence, deciding where they may want to enroll. And also, this website is exceptional. So please do visit that and don't hesitate to reach out to Ms. Coker directly or to myself. We're happy to respond to any questions in the community and certainly the questions here at the board table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the presentation, Ms. Coker, Ms. Linden, and enjoy the rest of your night.